Hi, it's Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video, we're going to take a look at a ultra cheap but ultra compact cooler, which may be absolutely perfect for your next SFX or ITX build. This comes in at a maximum height of 67mm, so should fit into the most compact of chassis. And also, it's got six 6mm heat pipes on there, so it should keep your CPU nice and cool. So on today's video, we'll go through, do an unboxing, see what it's all about. We'll do a separate video, which will be showing how to install it onto both the AM4, AM5, and also Intel platforms. And at the end of the video, we'll come back with some of our final thoughts and also some temperature tests. So let's get straight onto it. So taking a look at the packaging, as you can see, this is the classic cooler. So it's a low profile CPU cooler. This is the AXP120 X67 white ARGB. There are actually various models of this available, so if you maybe want a stealthy black version or you want a non-RGB version, knowing Thermalright, there's definitely going to be something to float your boat, so to speak. Lots of options. That is something that Thermalright are very well known for. They take a design and basically develop it to the nth degree, various different combinations, etc. Something else which is actually quite useful for this is the fact that you can also put on a 120mm fan of a standard thickness. As standard, it comes with a slimline 15mm version, but it does come with the clips enabling you to put in your own choice of 120mm, 25mm fan. So if you want that little bit of extra cooling performance and you've got the room in your rig, then that is certainly an option. So first off, we take a look at the heatsink specifications. So the dimensions are there, as you can see on the screen. The weight with the fan is under half a kilo, so 490 grams. The weight without a fan, 370, so if you want to use it passively, you can do. Like I said, it's got these six 6mm heat pipes, and also the material, it's a pure copper heat pipe with aluminium fins, and it's nickel plated. The thermal power capacity on the side there says 165 watts. Looking at the actual fan specifications, so the dimensions of that, 120 by 120 by 15mm height, so nice and low profile. Weight is 120 grams, and the rated speed is up to 1800 RPM with a minimum rotational speed of around about 800 RPM. Noise levels of 26.1 dBA and an airflow of almost 60 CFM, so that's actually not too bad for a slimline fan. You've got the static pressures there and also the currents. Also, it's using a fluid dynamic bearing, so should have a pretty good lifespan, and also pretty quiet while it's doing it. Next, we'll take a look at the actual heatsink itself, and I've got to say this is actually extremely cheap, but it does appear to be extremely well made. There's no real flex to it or anything, and the powder coating of the white on this particular version has been done particularly well. It does show up very nicely. You've got the 6 heat pipes on show there, which have been rounded off very nicely, and also all the fittings, etc. look to be done very well. You've also got that nickel plated copper cold plates, again with those 6 heat pipes going in there, so this is going to be great for AMD systems. Possibly not quite so good for Intel systems due to the fact that 2 of the heat pipes probably aren't going to touch much of the IHS, but certainly for AM4 and AM5 users, this is going to be absolutely great. Next, looking at the fan, as you can see, this is a very slimline edition. So again, helping out with those very limited ITX form factor enclosures. You've got 2 connections on here, one of which is a 4-pin PWM, and the cable's been very nicely braided. And the other cable is for the addressable RGB, if you go for the addressable RGB version. Normal 3-pin 5V addressable RGB, and also there is a pass-through connector as well, so if you want to hook up other devices to the same header, you certainly can do. Next, we'll take a look at the accessories box and what we get included. So there is, for Intel systems, there is a very nice solid metal backplate, so that is going to be suitable for 11.5X, LGA 1200 and also LGA 1700, and that will of course do the LGA 1851 also. Also for Intel, there are a bunch of fittings and all of them are marked up clearly, so LGA 1700 for the color-coded blue standoffs, and also we've got the black ones, which is for the LGA 1200 and also the older 11.5X range. And there are the Intel standoffs and fittings in a separate bag. When it comes to the AM4/AM5, it's very simple indeed. So there is a single bag with the red standoffs or pinky red standoffs and also 4 mounting screws. And when it comes to the brackets, you've got the AM4 ones there. It says AM4 on them, but this is because Thermalright use basically the same brackets for kind of every cooler they do in their range. And it still says AM4, but it will do AM5 as well. Also going back to the Intel setup, so you've got the mounting brackets there for all of the Intel sockets. For mounting the fan onto the heatsink, you've got these wire clips, which are yeah, absolutely fine. A little bit fiddly sometimes, but yeah, they're absolutely fine. They do what they're meant to do. And again, something which is very nice is the fact that if you want to use a larger fan, so one which has a 25mm depth rather than the 15mm shallow ones, it does actually come included with the spring clips to enable that, and it's labeled up clearly on there, a little tag on there saying this is for the 120mm fans with the 25mm depth. And if that wasn't enough, it also comes with some actually pretty premium thermal paste as well. So this comes with Thermalright's TF7, which is actually a really good performing thermal paste. So everything you need straight out of the box, ready to go. So at this point now, I'm actually pretty impressed. I can't wait to get this installed into my little test system. So we're going to break off from this video to do that. And the next bit you'll see is going to be the thermal results from my testing. Okay, so we're back and we've completed the testing, and I've got to say I'm reasonably impressed with this little cooler. Now don't get me wrong, if you have the room for a standard 120mm tower cooler, then you're probably better off spending the money on that, and in fact you'll probably find those to be a little bit cheaper. But like I've said at the beginning of the video, if you are working in a small form factor PC or an ITX case, then often the chances of you having a little bit of room for one is, well, very unlikely indeed, hence why we're doing the video on this. Anyway, let's talk about some of the performance results. Now, all of the results that you're going to be seeing have been performed on our Jingyu B650i Nighthawk, or Night Devil I think it is, and we're using a Ryzen 7 7700X. Now, I've done some tests with both the standard performance, so out of the box performance. Also, we've done some tests with a slight curve optimization, so a -20 on curve optimization. And also I thought I'd try it with eco mode enabled as well, just to see how that worked out. So that's limiting the processor to 65 watts. And also, if that isn't enough, I've also tried with a different fan as well. So we've used the stock fan, the 15mm one, and also we've used one of the best 25mm fans on the market, just to see if we can squeeze a little bit more performance out of this cooler. So let's take a look at the results. So our first slide shows us the highs and the low temperatures, and also our Cinebench score. So the lowest recorded temperature was 34.3 degrees Celsius. Now this is in a 23.5 degrees Celsius room. So if you take off that off of all of these results, that will give you your baselines. The highest recorded temperature is basically, it's gone straight to the thermal limits, which is 95.4 degrees Celsius. And that gave us a Cinebench R23 score of 19,124 points. So that is our baseline results, which is actually pretty decent, and also it runs very quiet. I've actually got it running next to me, as you can probably see, and it is whisper quiet when it's just idling doing stuff. And actually, even at full load at 1800 RPM, it's barely audible. So if you're looking for a nice quiet rig, then I think it's a very good choice. Now let's take a look at some of the results with some optimizations. So now we've got the same setup, but we have a curve optimized processor with a -20 factor. And as you can see there, the scores both with the stock fan, which is the 15mm, and also with our Thermaltake 25mm, the results are basically essentially the same. And also the lowest recorded temperature for the Thermaltake fan was just slightly higher. That could be down to some of the differences going on in the background of the system. But as you can see there, so we've got 95.5 with the 25mm fan, and also we've got 95.4, so basically identical with the 15mm fan. And with the lows, again, we've got 36.9 and 35.8. Again, I would probably disregard those results. I think there was something going on in the background. When it comes to the actual Cinebench scores, so we've got with the 15mm fan, we've got 19,689 points. And very similarly with the 25mm, we've got 19,697. So basically, it's essentially identical. So if you are thinking about getting this and thinking of maybe putting a 25mm fan on, basically don't bother if you're using anything over 65 watts, because it's kind of pointless. It's not going to make any real difference, and it's just going to add more expense. If you've got the fan already, then feel free to use it and tweak it and see what happens. But realistically, going with one of the best 25mm thickness fans on the market against what is included in the box, there's essentially no difference at all. So to throw something else into the mix, so some of you, especially if you're using small form factor PCs, are going to want to use eco mode to try and keep temperatures down as best as possible. And with that, again, the results are pretty similar at this point. With the Thermaltake 25mm fan, we've got 70 degrees 0.3, and then with the 15mm fan, the stock one, we've got 71.3, so 1 degree difference, so basically margin of error territory. And the lowest recorded temperatures were basically again identical. We got 25mm fan, 36.6, and with the 15mm fan, we've got 36.4. So again, basically identical. The Cinebench scores, again, very similar as well. So we've got the 15mm fan with 19,020 points, and with the 25mm, we've got 19,057 points. So again, essentially, there's basically no point in putting a 25mm fan on here at all. It doesn't seem to make any difference. So at least from my testing, it would appear that the thermal limitations of the actual platform itself lie solely with the actual heatsink itself. Regardless of what fan you put on there, it's not going to make a great deal of difference. Now, obviously, your mileage may vary using certain fans, certain configurations. You may find slight benefits to it, but realistically, I would say it isn't worth spending any extra money on a 25mm fan if that is something you're considering. So I suppose that pretty much wraps up this video. So overall, I think this cooler is actually pretty good. And again, if you are in one of those niche markets where you do need a very small form factor cooler in your small form factor PC, or you just want to use a small cooler just because you like the look of it, then I think for 25 quid, this is a pretty good deal. Bizarrely, the white version, which is actually normally traditionally more expensive, is actually the cheaper one of the two at the moment. The plain black version is about £28, so only a couple of quid in it, but certainly it is a difference. So if you're counting all the pennies, which realistically, if you're building a small form factor PC or an ITX PC, costs are one of those things which are probably not one of those things you're going to look at too much. But if you are one of those people, then certainly I think the Thermalright Classic is well worth a look. So anyway, that's going to wrap this video up. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, smash the like button. If you want to see more content of this on a daily basis, maybe consider hitting subscribe. And don't forget to click on the chime notification. That way you'll be notified of future video releases. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. And hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.